the day the Buddha smiled at his enemy. It was a quiet morning in the kingdom of Magadha. The sun had not yet reached its full height, and the air was fresh with the scent of damp earth from the night's dew. The Buddha, serene and unhurried, walked along a forest path toward the city, surrounded by a few of his disciples. The sound of their bare feet on the dry leaves was soft, almost part of the forest's own breath. The Buddha's presence was like a still pond in which nothing could disturb the surface. Birds sang in the canopy above, and the light filtered through in gentle patterns, dancing on the path. But on this day, unseen by the disciples, a man's heart burned with resentment. His name was Devadatta. Devadatta had once been close to the Buddha, even sharing the life of a monk, but his heart had grown restless and envious. He could not bear to see the peace and reverence others held for the Buddha, for his own mind was consumed by the hunger for recognition and power. Envy, like a creeping vine, had slowly wrapped around his thoughts until all he could see was the need to strike. Knowing the Buddha's path would pass beneath a rocky slope, Devadatta hid himself among the bushes, hands gripping a large stone poised on the edge. His breath was quick, his eyes sharp with intent. He thought, if I end him here, his influence will fade, and I will stand taller in his absence. Below, the Buddha walked steadily, his gaze lowered in mindful awareness of each step. There was no rush, no need to arrive anywhere before its time. His disciples followed at a respectful distance, speaking little, content in the silence that often wrapped itself around their teacher. Suddenly, with a heave of effort, Devadatta rolled the stone down toward the path. It crashed against the slope, splintering into jagged shards. One sharp fragment flew forward, striking the Buddha's foot. A thin line of blood appeared against the pale skin. Gasps filled the air. The disciples ran forward, placing themselves between the Buddha and the slope above. Their eyes searched the ridge, and there they saw him, Devadatta, still standing with tense shoulders, his face a mask of hostility. The Buddha looked up at him. His expression was unchanged, calm, steady, like the surface of a lake untouched by wind. And then he smiled. It was not a smile of victory, nor of mockery. It was gentle, born from the deep well of compassion that had no boundary. In that moment, the Buddha saw beyond the act. He saw Devadatta's heart, twisted by fear, craving, and delusion. He saw how such hatred was not truly aimed at him, but was the outward cry of an inward suffering. The disciples, still tense, whispered among themselves, "Why does the Blessed One smile at someone who would harm him?" The Buddha's voice was low, yet it carried through the stillness. "When a person is lost in darkness, shall I curse the night, or light a lamp? If a mind is clouded by anger, I will not add more darkness to it with my own." To meet hatred with hatred is to feed the very fire that consumes the heart. But to meet it with compassion, that is the path that ends suffering. He stepped forward, unshaken, his bleeding foot barely slowing his pace. The disciples, still bewildered but moved, followed in silence. None of them looked back at Devadatta. The Buddha's words seemed to settle in the air, like soft rain, sinking into the ground of their hearts. Devadatta stood frozen. He had expected fear, or perhaps rage, but the Buddha's calm gaze and unshaken compassion unsettled him. Something deep within him stirred, something he could not yet name. His plan had failed, but more than that, his anger no longer felt as solid as before. The forest grew quiet again, save for the steady sound of footsteps moving away. In the mind of Devadatta, a small crack had appeared in the wall of hatred he had built, and through it, the faint light of the Buddha's compassion began to seep in. And so the journey continued, the road stretching out beneath the soft shade of the trees. In this way, the story reminds us that true strength is not in striking back, but in refusing to let another's hatred take root in our own heart. Just as the Buddha chose to smile, seeing the suffering behind the act, we too can learn to look past the surface of another's anger. Meeting cruelty with kindness is not surrender. It is a conscious choice to stop the cycle of harm and protect the peace within. When we do so, we offer the world a glimpse of what liberation from hatred truly looks like.